Welcome to our channel, Moto Mouths Uganda, where we talk about everything to do with cars, what happens inside the car, what happens outside, what happens on the road, off the road, when the car is moving or the car is parked, and so much more as we go along. With me is Engineer Ivan Chivuka, someone who is very passionate about cars, and we shall be relying a lot on his mouth about things to do with cars. Welcome, Ivan.
Thank you very much, fellow Moto Mouths, Alan Senyonga. Thank you for the brief introduction and good afternoon.
Yes, we have this topic on safe driving. I think you technical people call it defensive driving. In the past, I used to think someone with defensive skills is the one who has ability to knock others off the road in case they try to knock me. Because I was looking at it from a sports perspective, that if someone is a defender, alina okuyitamu banne eggaali, alina okukola ekkuba engwala.
Yeah, that's
So
what he has
I
to
would
tackle.
I would always wonder how do they use these skills? How do they, knock other cars and theirs stay on the road? But it is good we have you here. You are going to help us demystify some of these misconceptions and learn a lot more on how to stay safe with our cars.
Yes, thank you very much, Alan. Defensive driving. First of all, I have a passion surrounding cars. One aspect of about cars is driving. I'm passionate about that. I have been driving for the last 14 years. Although I need to admit now, as youngsters, we did some joyriding. So we still there is cars and yeah, I have a story for another time. Yeah, we stopped that when we used to have that habit, but we stopped that when we had issues with the car and we had to push it for over 5 kilometers to secretly put it back where it was supposed to be. So that ended my joyriding experience. And then I waited until I could legally drive. Although, of course, at the beginning of my driving experience, I have to admit I drove for some few months without a full driving license, although I had a learner's. But proper driving experience, I have about 14 years. And then in the last, no, it's not 14 years, since 2000, that's 24 years. Yeah, so, but also I have been involved. I'm primarily an environmental engineer. That is my major preoccupation. But because I have a preoccupation with the electronics, with the things to do with electricity, mixed with my love for vehicles, I branched into, in my spare time, I do vehicle diagnostics, which involves dealing with many of the electronic systems on cars. Modern cars have many electronic controls. I'll be discussing this in future episodes, but yeah, going back to the topic today of defensive driving, it's important. I have undergone a defensive driving course myself about 10 years ago, which was a requirement for work that we needed to do in one part of the country that was remote. But defensive driving, even without formal defensive driving training, I think most of it can come from general knowledge and experience. You can't beat experience on driving defensively, although you can start off very well with some basic knowledge. Basic things like some people overestimate the capabilities of their cars. For example, some people overestimate their capabilities to control vehicles. I've never crashed a car, but I'll admit there are a few times I've really felt I was close. I felt like a crash was coming, like turning a corner at a very high speed, and then there is a momentary loss of control, and then you regain, and then your heart thumps for the next 20 minutes. So yeah, I would say I've had a few near misses like anyone else. Some people have been unfortunate enough to get involved in crashes which injured them or other people or even killed other people. That is not the experience we should be aiming for when we want to learn to drive more defensively. We should have some basic knowledge about the cars we have on the road. It was drilled in me. My first driving license, I got one in Uganda. Then I went to live in the UK. I also got a driving license there. Then came back to Uganda. Now, in the UK especially, it was drilled in me that when I'm driving, when I sit behind the steering wheel and start the engine, I'm now handling a weapon bigger even than a gun. But I noticed most people, once after learning, we are edgy, we realize the gravity of what we are handling, but after driving for some time, the experience makes us overconfident. You see people driving while on the phone, people driving while arguing, or people do all sorts of crazy things while driving. And that's coming out of experience, and it kind of catches us off guard when we have real emergencies now, because we've been driving for a long time. We got so overconfident, we started, misjudging situations. But the number one thing that comes with defensive driving is awareness around you, around the vehicle. You need to understand the vehicle you are driving, its limitations, its capabilities. Number one, your limitations, your capabilities, and then study the environment around you. I see a lot of people driving. Oh, I noticed in Uganda now, a lot of people overtake on the road, but the method they use for overtaking is faulty on at least two accounts. Some people will stay behind a vehicle that is slow. When a good opportunity presents itself to overtake, they react late to using that opportunity. Personally, my style of driving is when I'm behind a car and I intend to overtake it, I wait. And I judge that an opportunity may be coming. If my judgment is proven right, you have to see the road ahead. I take that opportunity and I really go for it. As I grow older, I've learned to be a slow driver. I used to be a fast driver. These days I'm a slow driver, but when I'm overtaking, full throttle down until I've executed the maneuver. Because I don't know what other surprise can come while I'm relaxing about the overtaking maneuver. So when you are overtaking, please be fast about it. That is the only time I would advise people to really step down on the gas. It's a critical phase. People react late, and then they start the maneuver late, and then they get cornered by a vehicle suddenly appearing. Could be a goat, somebody else, a border. Yeah, so they get surprised themselves during the maneuver. So awareness is very important. So people, when overtaking, I've seen in Uganda, we take long to maneuver, to make the decision to maneuver. We react after seeing somebody else ahead of us has overtaken. You also follow without checking for yourself whether it is still safe. It could have been safe for the other guy. A few seconds later, it is not safe for you. Yes, so we don't have much time. I could share so many experiences of the near misses I've had, but I've learned to be humble. I've also learned to, for example, if you are driving to Masaka, most people have driven between Kampala and Masaka. There is a lot of traffic on the road. Trust you me, even if Masaka is 126 kilometers away, you can't drive consistently for 100. You can't drive at 100 kilometers an hour consistently. Yet I see people driving past at 150 only to be slowed down in the next kilometer or two, and they are doing 40 going through a town hump, so waiting to overtake a vehicle, or they find roadworks. In the end, you may see on your needle you are doing 120, 130, but you are going to cover that distance in about 3 hours, trust me. Somebody else who is driving at 80 kilometers an hour at most, since they left Kampala, they of course they'll also be slowing down in town, but on the straightmost, the clearest parts of this road, they may do 80, 90. Trust you me, if you keep doing 150 in those sections and they do 80, 90, with all those interruptions in between, you are going to get there. If you leave at the same time, you are going to beat them by at most 10 minutes. And now you tell me, what are you going to do with those 10 minutes when you get there? You know, it is time saved, but at what risk? You know, you gain 10 minutes over the other guy, but you are going only to stop by a restaurant to have a meal. So was it really worth for you to risk saving those 10 minutes just so that you can get to Masaka and have Yom Chomo? Some of the things, and when we drive very badly, when we accelerate very hard and brake very hard, we are destroying the cars. Pay and wear is very heavy, and also we are consuming too much fuel. One of the things that keeps encouraging me to drive slowly, even when other people can't believe why I keep driving slow on an open road, is just the fuel efficiency part of it. I've learned, for example, the vehicle I drive these days, I went and looked up the technical stuff. I realized it is most efficient with the fuel at about 84 kilometers an hour. So it has cruise control, and it also has the speed limiter, which you can set when you are driving. The speed limiter that is not fixed. So when I'm on the highway with open road, I normally set the speed limiter to 84. So I can never exceed 84 kilometers an hour. So if I do, especially on long journeys when I'm doing like 300 kilometers an hour, rather 300 kilometers total distance, and I stay within under 84 kilometers an hour, I save a lot of fuel. I shared on my Facebook account some time back where I drove from Kampala, went to Greece and came back. And on average, I used up about 3.9 liters per 100 kilometers. So that was just over 25, I think it is 25 kilometers per liter. So apart from driving safely, from you being safe when you drive slower, it also improves fuel efficiency and it will impact your wallet as well. You don't have to prove anything to drive very fast, guys. And safe driving is not all about driving slowly. There are other aspects, usage of accessories while driving, your demeanor on the road. Do you get angry with every person that crosses you, cuts you off? There are so many crazy people, but when you let them get into your mind, you get frustrated as well on the road. And Kampala is, driving in Kampala at least is a contact sport. From time to time, you are going to get your vehicle scratched. So just be ready for that. Yeah.
What would you say about these drivers who tend to be aggressive? I have seen some of them on the highways, some of them in the towns. On the highways, they do a lot of tailgating. They come behind you, they flash lights, especially the newer cars, like the SUVs, tend to have very powerful lights. One time I was driving and I thought, hey, it was lightening behind me because the guy was in a Prado and black lights. It was a bit almost,
Yeah, like
I think,
to scare you out of the
6 p.m.
way. Yes,
Yes, and the light was, and I was
it
wondering what
scared
his
you.
intention was. Yes.
Yeah.
So, what would you recommend to be the distance someone should keep between their car and the car in front? I don't know where I picked it, but I've heard somewhere that you should be able to see the other person's tires. But
Oh,
sometimes when you do that, the sound
yeah,
cuts you off. Hmm.
yeah. I know what you mean about the ability to see somebody else's tires, but that is only when you are in heavy traffic, when you are going below certain 20 kilometers an hour. If you applied that when you are doing 100 kilometers an hour, you may be able to see the vehicles, the tires of the vehicle in front of you, but you are too close. In case an emergency erupted, you would rear end them right away. In the UK, I learned about what they call a 2 second rule, which will work almost at all speeds. The 2 second rule is like this. Make sure that you are at least 2 seconds away from the other vehicle. Now use the time element. If you are doing, for example, 40 kilometers an hour, and the vehicle in front of you passes the signpost, mentally count 2 seconds. If you are there at that same spot before the 2 seconds erupt, you are too close. That thing will also apply even at 100 kilometers an hour. The same rule will still apply. The time it takes you to cover those 2 seconds at the higher speed means the distance will be longer. So the 2 second rule is more effective. Because most of my early driving experience was in the UK, I've learned how to live, even when we are in stopped traffic, I've learned how to live at least half a car's length in front of me. Unfortunately, in Uganda, when you do that, people change lanes and get into that space. And then you have to move back a little bit more to create more distance. And now we have these annoying borders, especially when you are maneuvering through roundabouts. You create space around yourself and other cars. These guys just get into the distance, the space that you have created. So with regards to tailgating, the number one chore I discovered is observing that 2 second rule, because it will apply almost at every speed. Because the faster you are going, the larger the distance. If you stick to that at least 2 second rule, the distance will grow longer. When you are in town driving and you are at lower speeds, the distance will grow shorter, but you are still safe. So use time rather than saying, are you able to see the wheels of the car in front of you? I think that's more effective.
And we now have modern cars with automatic engines, cup holders, digital music systems. How can you advise someone to stay focused on the road and not be taken away by all the buttons that come with the new car cockpits? I see some cars, even the steering wheel also has its own buttons, and you find that someone has so many things to distract them.
Yes, you are right. Most of the accessories, by the way, the ones that are fitted in the factory are to make your driving experience safer. They are aftermarket gadgets which people go when they have imported the vehicle, they go to Chiseka, add some stuff. Some of it is dangerous, by the way, some of the accessories you put. But most of the stuff which is installed by the manufacturer in the factory, most of the stuff which comes originally with the vehicle is meant for improving your driving experience, whether via safety or via comfort, via keeping your vehicle longer on the road, making the vehicle more reliable, and so on. Yeah, for example, I'll give an example of, say, traction control. Most people don't realize how traction control works, but it's because they never get into positions or situations where traction control has to kick in. Even ABS, people talk about ABS, but few people in normal driving actually experience ABS in action when it is active. Because when it is active, you will feel it, it will kick, you brake very hard normally, and then the pedal it will pulsate as if it is kicking your foot back. Most people brake very hard, but the ABS is never triggered, but they think it is their ABS which saves them. ABS does save lives. I will discuss that on another day. But going back to the gadgetry in the vehicle, most of it, I'll give the experience of the vehicle I have access to at the moment. I drive a 2019 Renault Duster. It has those popular screens now that are part of the dashboard where you can control SC, you can see your mileage, you can see so many things. It even when you are reversing, it shows you the view of the cameras around the vehicle. It has the 360 view. Yeah, but you don't use those while you are during normal driving. You don't touch a lot of that stuff. For example, it allows me to receive phone calls. So when I'm driving and my phone goes off, I actually look at the screen because it is connected. I can see who is calling. I can decide whether to answer or not. Even if I need to answer, I don't now have to reach the phone to answer. I would press the accept button, or even on the steering wheel, I have a button that allows me to accept the call, and then I'll keep driving. Both my hands are still on the steering, and I can now talk. The system, it will shut down the radio, and then I'll be able to hear the other person over the entertainment system. Well, many people, for privacy reasons, may not like, even those who have access to it, may not like to activate it, but I find it very useful. Some of these gadgets, rather than you handling your phone and going live on WhatsApp, TikTok, that is quite dangerous. These are accessories now you are bringing into the vehicle, but the accessories that come with the vehicle itself from the manufacturer, usually they are for your own safety and comfort. So like I mentioned, that future, for example, which I have access to, I will tell you, I speak on the phone many times. I may not start the call, but when I get phone calls, I can answer if I need to answer, but I'm still safe because the way I'm speaking on the phone is not different from if I have a passenger and I'm having a chat with them as I'm driving. But you and your phone using one hand to hold it. And guys, if you need to speak on the phone, why don't you buy what do you call them, free hands-free kits?
Gadget.
Yes, like the thing I'm using.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm using the headset right here on the laptop. But these things, when you have them, why do you? I mean, if you can afford a car, I'm sure you can afford this. If you don't like electronics on your head, use the simple headphones that come with your phone when you buy it. Most brand new phones, they come with a wired headset, which is safe if you don't like Bluetooth on your head. Yeah, they are quite useful. You can talk all you want on the phone. I'm not saying be talking, minimize the talking, but if you have to, try to use hands-free. It's very key. Oh, and I've seen something else I want to mention now because I may forget it in future. Especially for lady drivers, I see you very close to the steering wheel. That's quite dangerous because you are putting yourself in a position where if the airbag went off, it might injure you and even kill you. Please try to step back at a distance where you hold your steering with your arms straight out. Don't put them in a position where you struggle to reach the steering, but somewhere where you are comfortably able to hold your steering. Because now it means in an emergency, if you need to maneuver very quickly, in a sharp way, your hands can be effective. If you're too close like this, your turning is limited. You may need to make a big turn, but you are just going to manage a small turn, and you get hit. If it is a truck coming, you may not get out of the way quickly enough. But if you're like this, and the UK will learn, they called it the 10 past 2 o'clock position, or you're steering like so. The right hand on the 10-minute, if it was a clock, on the 10-minute position, and this one on the 2 o'clock, I think 4 o'clock position, 10 past 4 position. That is the best position for, and don't take your hand off and chill. I see people chilling, man. People treat their cars like you. I keep saying this. You spend out of an entire 24 hours of your day, you are only spending maybe an hour in the car. Man, be organized, be safe. Stop. You can chill at home or in the office, but when you are driving a vehicle, it is serious business. You are potentially handling a weapon. Don't be chilled about driving. People drive like so, and then the other hand is on the phone. Guys, who are you posing for? You get up and drive from your house to your office. Do you realize that you can spend a month without seeing somebody else you know on the road? All the thousands of people or other drivers that you meet don't know you. They have never seen you, or they don't remember you. So posing in front of them while you are making yourself unsafe, I don't think it is worth the risk. Let us try to think through the things. Chilling, speaking on the phone, what can't wait? What can't wait for you to WhatsApp? I'm one of the heaviest WhatsApp users, but I can never WhatsApp. If I need to WhatsApp, if it's an emergency, I'll stop by the road and send that urgent message. But you are commuting for just 1 hour out of the 24 hours you spend in a day, and you cannot wait. You cannot use up that 1 hour to concentrate on driving. We have so many issues which are, when they come to my mind, I will mention in future, but I have so many gripes with when I moved back from the UK back to Uganda, I bought a vehicle. It was a Carib. You remember those old Carib? It was black. Do you know I spent 5 months without driving that car? I had the car, but I was just seeing madness on the car. I could not bring myself. I left Uganda when I had been driving for 3 months, and I was confident. Went to the UK. I left UK. I could even drive trucks. I used to drive large trucks, the Magurukumi size. But I came back to Uganda and I passed chilled, because everywhere I was looking, I was just seeing mistakes, not only from drivers, but also from border borders. Pedestrians themselves are making mistakes. Even the policemen, I'm sorry to say, some of you guys, the things a police lady stopped me in Chenjojo and asked me why I was driving at lunchtime. It was a sunny day with my headlights on. Why? You on the highway with the headlights on. Why? She wanted to give me a ticket. Some of these things, I'm sorry to say, even you, they are found. We have a major problem around. I'm trying to share what I know that can improve our driving. Yeah. I've had a not so good experience on Ugandan road, but I continue to survive on them.
Yes, since we are talking about safety, there is this myth that if my car is modern and new, it has airbags, so I don't even need to wear the seatbelt, because I assume.
Don't get me started, because I've just remembered something. I see people driving again in that chilling mode. I see people driving with children. on their laps in the front seat. Not only the front passenger seat, a child should never sit, a child below 12 years old, generally, at least in developed countries, is usually not allowed to sit in the passenger seat. If you look at the movies, you normally see children sitting in the back, even with a vacant passenger seat in the front. You usually see children being in the back. Front seats are dangerous for children because of their size. They can be injured by the airbag when it is deploying. The airbag uses a certain force and it expects to meet a minimum level of resistance. You remember, was it motion's laws of motion that we did in high school? If something about equal and opposite forces. So if the airbag comes with a big force and it is met with a small weight, the force that is transmitted to the child is a lot compared to you, the adult. Airbags are designed for adults, at least in the front seats. Don't put, there are even warnings under the sun visors. There are even warnings not to put children in the front seat until they're about 12. When 12 generally is when most children are about 20, 25 kilos in weight, at least. Now, how do you put a child on the steering? You know, the steering wheel has an airbag that is directly in front of you, and somebody has put a child there. So if the airbag was to deploy, the child, you will survive. You, the adult, are going to survive. But you are using your child as a shield. You have just killed the child. I feel very bad when I see it. And when I first started seeing it, I used to chase these people and try to talk to them, and then I would be insulted. Then I gave up. Some people are just hard to, some you find somebody driving a Kaundo, they have made it in life, they have built a mansion, and they are just exposing their automotive ignorance for the public to see. Now, going back to even the adults, when airbags deploy, airbags are going to, again, they are designed to deploy in such a way, there is a way they position themselves as they are deploying. So the design is that you are supposed to be in a certain position when the airbag deploys. That's why during a crash, the seat belt will tighten. That is to prevent you from moving forward. During normal driving, if you wanted to move forward by yourself slowly, you can achieve it. But when the vehicle is undergoing heavy deceleration, as in a crash, it will not, the seat belt will tighten. There are valves in the pillar of the car, which you roll when you are pulling the seatbelt. If you've driven on a bad road, a rough road, you realize the seatbelt will refuse to come out until you get on a smooth part of the road. So that very system is the one that holds you during a crash, and it holds you to the seat. Most of you don't know this because you've never experienced these crashes, but that is the design. So it will hold you in that position so that the airbag comes and deploys. The airbag will touch you, yes, but it will touch you toward the end of its travel. The idea is that you don't move forward and meet the airbag on its way to you. Because when that happens, the injury for you is going to be bigger. You may even die from it. An adult can be killed by an airbag. So, and when you look at the acronyms that are written on the airbag system, they are called SRS. It says SRS on the airbag. SRS means supplementary restraint system. So it is a secondary system. It is an additional system. The seatbelt is a primary system for restraining you from falling out of the car or moving about in the car in case of a crash. So having airbags does not mean you can do away with. In fact, if you do away with the seatbelt, the airbag itself can kill you in turn. So make sure you use your seatbelt, even though your car has airbag. Yeah.
Lastly, there is, I don't know if the assumption here is that people are saving fuel or saving on whatever it is, but sometimes you find people are stuck in traffic or they are going downhill. and they change the gear to neutral. You know,
Kuba ndogo.
back
We
in
call
the
it okuba ndogo. The Bazungu call it free wheeling.
yes.
In Uganda, we call it okuba ndogo. It's generally a bad habit. You can do it in manual cars if you have a good space ahead of you. You could attempt it, although I wouldn't advise against it. It is better to use engine braking. Engine braking, if you are driving a manual car, is you leave, for example, if you ended the hill in gear number 4, just take the foot off the pedal, off the gas pedal, let the vehicle go down. You may need to brake to slow down if you need to, but if you are just cruising and the speed is not getting excessive and you are comfortable with it, just continue downhill while the gear is engaged for both manual and automatic cars. Do you know that the vehicle is actually saving fuel because the engine computer turns off the injectors? Because now, instead of the engine driving the wheels are driving the engine in reverse, and the engine keeps rotating. And the computer sees this. The computer will actually switch off the injectors and you save fuel. I do this very, very many times. The car is automatic, of course. I don't get out of drive, but I just take the foot off the pedal. And at the end of the journey, the vehicle I have now gives me the statistics of how many kilometers I did without spending a drop of fuel. It is intended. It is a design. It is part of the design. So when you freewheel, the engine now, the computer has now to switch the engine back on because the engine is no longer being rotated by the wheels because the gear has been disconnected. There has been a disconnect between the engine and the wheels. So now the engine has to idle. So you are using up more fuel. But on top of that, if you were required to stop suddenly, the brakes, once you step on them, can save you. But they will work less when the engine braking is also taking a portion of the braking effect. So for me, I enjoy, especially because I used to drive trucks, I enjoy the engine braking part of it. If you have driven on steep slopes, you would understand this very well. One time I was in Hoima and I was going down an escarpment. I was still using engine braking. Believe me, the brakes got so hot, the braking effect reduced, and I had to stop by the roadside. The brakes were smoking. I was driving a pickup truck. So I had to wait and have the brakes cool down. But you are going to suffer this more when you rely on just the brakes as you're going down. So leave the transmission in D from driving to when you switch off the engine. Don't move it to neutral unless you have come to stop, please. And also, you are for automatic transmissions, you are destroying the engine because when you re-engage, you are destroying the transmission. When you re-engage D, the sudden jolt of the mechanical parts in the transmission system, you are killing them, you are hammering them. Because they have been idle and suddenly you have loaded them at 80 kilometers an hour. It is not good. Please stop that habit. Yeah, there are so
Well,
many things I could say, but unfortunately, I realize we've run out of time. We have less than a minute to go. Yeah.